Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Harvey County Talk. I'm your host, Lance Gormley. Our guests on the program today are Mayor of Newton, Rod Kreie, and Chair of Harvey County Economic Development, and Beth Shelton, who is the Director of Harvey County Economic Development. How are the both of you doing today? Good. Just for the audience, Rod's been on here multiple times. We know he's our magnificent mayor for this year, and he does a great job when it comes to that. But there's a lot of stuff that he does behind the scenes, maybe that's not so much publicly known. And then, of course, Beth, on the other hand, is doing a rock star job. We see a lot of things happening. So just how did you get involved, Rod, Beth? How did you get involved? Where are you from? Where you hail from? Normally we give kind of some portfolio biography here, but how'd you find yourself to Newton?
Yeah. So I had some familiarity with Newton. I went to Bethel College, so always loved Newton and North Newton. Played tennis there, so go Threshers. And then lived in Wichita, and I worked for Greater Wichita Economic Development Coalition for several years. And then I went and did economic development in Salina for a few years. Went back to Wichita and worked a couple more years, and then the position here came open, and it was an opportunity to come back to a small community, work still closely with Wichita as part of the region, and that's how I got into economic development. My education was in human resources, so it didn't really, I guess it kind of applies when you're dealing with people, but I don't know anyone that is in economic development that goes to college and for that pathway. It's something that you just kind of stumble into and then you stay because you love it. So
Love people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my background in economic development started in my hometown, Ulysses, Kansas, and I was chairman of their economic development council. Started when I wasn't really that old, and spent a lot of time chasing dairies and dairy-related stuff. Spent a lot of time in California. Had a CPA practice there, and just was really interested in growing Ulysses. It was a daunting task. It's off the main rail.
Yeah.
A long way from any interstate. We do have internet, in Ulysses, but there's a lot of things that just automatically didn't make sense there in Ulysses. The dairy deal we kind of went after, and most of the dairies out there, I had, at least part. I was involved enough that I knew all those people, and a little tougher environment to do economic development in,
but. Well, Western Kansas for sure. And you're probably talking about doing it in a time in which they're consolidating schools because there's a lack of people and resources, and it's largely agricultural. So, that's a hard thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays for a lot of them communities out there, just bringing a Dollar General is like the pinnacle of what they can accomplish.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an oil and gas based economy out there, kind of coupled with everybody else's agricultural economy, and there's times agriculture goes up and down, and the oil and gas, it's kind of gone from all the majors being out there, your Occidental Petroleums and City Service Gas and BP America, and it's fragmented into a whole bunch of smaller companies that are running the oil field out there, and the Yucatan gas field's pretty well depleted now, and it's too expensive to drill deep. There's more there, but really Ulysses has just kind of dwindled away from a tax base standpoint, and I thought it was best to get out and move to a community where that wasn't happening. So that happened 14 years ago.
Well, and you had some vision, I would have to say. I know you, personal friend with you, obviously, and when we've talked over the last 6+ years that we've known each other, I think by now, it's largely based in economic development. Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot of you've given me a lot of nuggets. Of life experience in your position and things that you've had to walk through and mature through over 20-40 years, right? And interesting, you mentioned coming to Newton specifically because this was a place that appeared to have the opportunity to be able to grow and be successful. Yeah. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I've heard this. I know you, Rod, and I know this, you know, and I guess a question for you, Rod, is how does one become chairman of economic development in Harvey County, or Harvey County Economic Development? How do you do that exactly?
Well, you know, I was asked to throw my name in the hat when David Nygaard died. That's been 5-6 years ago. He was a city commissioner, and there was a spot to be filled, and Leroy Kane and Barth Haig knew that I had quite a bit of experience with economic development and just city business in general. So they asked me to throw my name in the hat, and then I got appointed after they selected me over Clint McBroom, I might add. Sorry, Clint. But you know, it just was they appointed me to be on the economic development, Harvey County Economic Development, and then eventually it was kind of my turn to be chair, and you know, working with Beth is such a pleasure. You know, it doesn't really. I mean, I run the meetings, and Beth and I talk strategy off and on, and I might probably be more involved in some of the solicitations and meeting with prospects and things like that. She's very comfortable, I think, calling me and saying, hey, you know, I got a meeting coming up. It might be something you know about. Would you attend? And I always do. So
I might share with you how our board is structured, and so how Rod does.
Yeah, I was going to pass it over and ask pretty much that question.
Sure. So we're funded by each one of the municipalities here in Harvey County, and then they each get to appoint representation on our board. So each one appoints 2, except for Newton appoints 3 and Harvey County appoints 3 because they're our largest funding partners. So once you're appointed to the board, you serve either a 2 or 3 year term. And then those board members, we have an executive team that's a 7-member executive team, and we meet additionally. So the full board meets monthly, and then the executive team meets monthly also. So that's kind of how Rod got appointed, and then might just share that. So people, if you have any interest in economic development, reach out to the municipality that you live in or that you work in and let them know, because when people go off the board, it's always nice to have people that have shown interest in economic development instead of just blindly reaching out to people. And
so these boards that are responsible for appointing you are either elected positions.
It would be, yes, it would be the commission or the council. So it would be Harvey County Commission or Heston City Council. They'll appoint the members. And
then so like the chair and those that are the members of this board are completely volunteer. They don't get compensated. Right. They just want to help the community.
Right. And so the full board meets once a month for about an hour and a half, and then the executive committee meets again for another hour. And the executive committee, I probably bother more than the entire board. I reach out to them, probably weekly on different things that are happening or asking for their guidance or opinion. But we do have a very active and supportive board, and I've been very, very blessed in that aspect since I've been here, that people are involved in economic development. They'll pick up a phone and call other people to talk to them about economic development. So we have a good community that way.
So I'm kind of thinking that you have a real good team. Honestly, I hear teamwork coming out. I mean, that's not word hasn't been used, but I'm seeing like you have to have a team of people together. But you're kind of the point guard, Beth.
Yes.
I mean, really, you're the one that this is your day to day. Like you are the. Oh, I wasn't going to say the point guard. I was going to say the mover and the shaker. You're the person that makes it happen.
Well, the office is myself and then Jennifer Mueller, and she runs our retention program. So she goes out and visits with all of the local companies and just makes sure, hey, you're healthy, happy, you want to stay here, you possibly want to grow here, kind of identifies if there's any red flags. So she's an integral part of our team. I couldn't do what I do without her. So she does that aspect. And then I go and I try to recruit new business, or I help businesses like the Full Visions that are expanding. How do we navigate that? What programs are out there for you for this expansion, maybe through local government or the state to assist in any way? So yeah, we kind of have it divvied out into different sections, but her and I, so it's a small team for what we're doing. That's why it takes the support of everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's not just Newton, it's all of Harvey County. We work just as hard for a project in Halstead or Burton as we do for a project in Newton. And they work just as hard on that project for us also if we have something in Newton. So
well, and ultimately then the idea is just to bring well, I mean, we say economic development, but ultimately what you're trying to do is it's a two-way street of you going out and trying to find people that are looking for a place to call home, and then to try to make us as attractive as we can be to be able to have those people. And then at the same time, there are people probably that come to you. There's different businesses that just come to you without you knowing that you needed to go talk to them. I mean, how does kind of that, your day to day is a lot of networking, I mean, and a lot of relationship building, and you have to know, Harvey County pretty dang well, right? To be able to get our message out there to people that could possibly want to come here.
So about 80% of your industrial growth will happen from the companies that are already located here. So that's a really important part. The people that have already made that investment in your community are the ones that are going to continue to invest. So that's super important. But the other 20%, which is sometimes the more exciting, it gets the bigger splash, is the recruitment in. And so a lot of time is spent going out and visiting with site selectors, visiting with state representatives, to share what we have here in Harvey County, that we have rail served land, that we have cleared infrastructure ready land, and making sure that they know that. And then it's also top of mind, because I can visit with a site selector a year ago, but when a project comes across their desk, they're not going to remember Harvey County has 100 acres with rail access. So it's, keeping those relationships up so that we get the opportunities to submit for projects.
And then Rod, as far as being the chair, being on the board, there's got to be a vision that has been created that maybe in the past, or something that is just continuously revised, or however it kind of help the audience understand, or even myself understand, how does this vision come about? I mean, well, at first glance,
I would be more apt to call it a culture. The vision is always there. It's how you make the vision better. And what we've concentrated on is making sure everybody that needs to know what's going on knows what's going on. Beth handles the industrial development side. We do community development also, and that's done internally in the city of Newton. But Beth sits on that board, and Choose Newton, which is the group that promotes community development. Zach McCatton, he is ex officio member of the Economic Development Board, as is the Pam Stevens at the chamber. She's an ex officio member. Any chamber executive sets ex officio on the Harvey County Economic Development. If a community has one, then they need to know what's going on too. And I would say, we push for a culture of success, but that kind of got started because there's not, everybody needs to know what's going on in order to make things happen that wouldn't normally happen. And I think we do that at a very high level right now. It's happened in the past, but I would say we've made that pretty much an art form.
Well, and just kind of honing in on what you're talking about, communication is key. So I'm understanding this. You're helping me build this picture in my mind of it's a lot of overlapping communication. Where but another thing that you said that I think is interesting that's worth pointing out is we had Zach McCatton on the program in the past, and he was community development, which focuses on, let's say, Newton-centric, Choose Newton. So each individual community has the same, let's say, Choose Halstead, Choose Hesta, they might have their own logo, or whatever. But at the same time, what you're saying, Beth, you do too, is something different. Like, you're talking about being specifically related to industry. Right. So the AGCOs, the GAFs, the full visions, and that's a list. Give me your list. I mean, I know you have a proud list right now, because I don't want to ramble it off for you, but wow. I mean, we've talked about a lot on this program, starting with GAF, but I mean, I don't want to Yeah.
Yeah, so back to just us focusing on industrial development. The reason that we do that is because they're primary jobs and they bring money into the community that can then be spent and circulated for service, retail, different types of things that they're the programs that there are incentives for. So the state, they incentivize primary jobs dependent on your NAICS code, which is kind of in the weeds a little bit, but that's how their programs are based on. So I could go out and meet with companies that aren't primary jobs, but I don't have tools to assist them. So really the primary jobs are the ones that we want to bring in new investment so that then we can have more money to spend in the community for other things. So a lot of times people will call our office and, want a Panera and things like that. And that's amazing. And I love Panera also, but our office only focuses on the industry, the manufacturing jobs.
And in that case, you would just forward that person on to Zach McCatton, and then Zach McCatton, and then you guys would talk to each other in the next monthly meeting and say, hey, did you get that person that wanted something? Because it builds the whole, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole idea of having everybody overlap with one another. But so successes. I mean, give me some successes. Yeah. Like I know right now, I mean, like I said, I can say it, GAF, big deal. That's totally your alley.
Yeah. GF was huge. It was probably the biggest project I'll work on in my entire career. I mean, it was just a really huge project. And we learned a lot from it. There were a lot of challenges, a lot of things to overcome, a lot of us all getting on the same page to move the project forward. It really was a lot of one step forward, two steps back, but we all finally got there, and it was a wonderful day when we did, and they purchased the land, and we'll be so excited when they break ground. So that was huge. But it's just as exciting when a Full Vision, who's out here, off of Cow Palace, is ready to expand and working with them and seeing what they're doing. I mean, I'm always amazed when I go out to our manufacturers and seeing the things that they do that people have no idea are made here in Harvey County. It's pretty impressive. And a lot of these projects, it's the biggest thing these people are going to do in their entire lifetimes. And so what we can do to help them and assist them and make it easier for them and create jobs that are good paying jobs so that people have a better quality of life is really important, and it makes what we do worth it. And all those days where you bang your head against the wall, because it is, everyone's job is a roller coaster. Economic development is a roller coaster. You have wins that are highs, and then you have things that you don't win, or things that aren't really the right fit for your community that you wish would work out. So we have a lot of great things going on in Harvey County. We've had a lot of the highs this past year, and we have a lot of highs on the horizon too. Yeah. So the next month we'll have some more, but this past year we had Full Vision. We had Midwest Transformers out in Heston. If you're out on Dutch Avenue and you drive towards Bueller, you'll see their facility. It's, I think, complete. We haven't had a ribbon cutting yet, but I drove by it the other day. It's huge, 3 buildings that are so impressive. What else have we had this past year? We've had some sales of some land that they haven't broken the ground yet on, and that'll be exciting to see those happen this year. CD Customs will be here in the next month, and they're going to build a facility. It's just a lot of activity. Yeah. And then we also have a lot of RFPs coming in. So those are the ones where, hey, they're doing a blanket search and we're just in the mix. So
yeah, you're a community that might work for them. So that's even more that can possibly happen. I was gonna, as you were rambling off, I thought, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, because there's been enough that you don't want to forget the one that you know. Right. Yeah. Like Rod, I was going to say, Rod, what's your big ones? I mean, I know.
Well, we sold quite a bit of ground out in the not the industrial park, but at the logistics park, and most people have driven by and seen there's a building on the ground that Lou Rebelli's getting ready to put up. So he's kind of starting his program. He's the guy that built all the buildings in Park City that you drive by for quite a ways. They're on the, mostly, I guess they're all on the west side of the road going into Wichita on the I-135. But the kind of the cool thing that's going to happen, like with GAF when they break ground, is they've got all their sub-suppliers that we've talked to too, and when you get the big one, a lot of smaller ones come in, and as the mayor and as a commissioner, we're also interested in we have to give tax abatements in a competitive environment to get, and usually that goes with like giving industrial revenue bonds in order to be competitive so we can get these people. But a lot of these smaller companies will come in and not ask for a tax abatement, and they'll just be here. So there's that balancing act between getting people that are going to pay taxes right away and those that the only real benefit is what their employees spend and the additional commerce they create from the time that they start doing business until that tax abatement kicks off.
Well, I have a question with that tax abatement. I know. Boy, on the social medias, that seems like the thing that people hone in on. Okay,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
just, I think there's a huge misconception with all of that, and and there's something that you said, Beth, and there's something that Rod said that kind of makes me think similar things here. You said, well, first off, that we have in some cases do provide tax abatements to large corporations that come in, like JF or other situations. This is not different than any other community, obviously. So with that being said, the reason that that's done is because it then leads into what Beth was saying, which is that then those organizations or companies being here have a residual effect that maybe just a new restaurant coming to town is not going to get.
Right. And with the tax abatement on any size business, if it's a new construction, it's something that you wouldn't be collecting anyway. So you're giving up something that you didn't already have. So when people say you're giving away this money, no, you're just delaying collecting the money, and you wouldn't have it ever if they chose not to build there. So you can kind of...
That's a really practical way to look at it. I mean,
Right.
it really is. It's like that's forgotten.
Right.
That's
And it is only on the new portion. So if it's a company that's expanding, they're still going to be paying taxes on their initial building. It would just be on the new construction portion. So that's also something to keep in mind. A lot of times people hear that if it's an expansion and they think, oh, they're getting... Well, they're not. They're still paying taxes. It's just, again, something you wouldn't have had otherwise if they hadn't chose to expand or invest.
And Rod, what are some of the things that take place if a community, you're the chair of economic development, right? Been in that field for a long time. What are some of the consequences? And I'm not going to say consequences, might not be the right word, but what are some of the things that can happen if a city or community, county says, no, we're not going to give you any breaks at all. We're no tax abatements. You come here. You want to,
You can just look at the taxing history of Newton over the last 50 years. If you take a look at economic growth, I did a presentation at a city commission meeting when we were talking about increasing taxes a couple years ago. I think it was August 23rd of 2022. As if you ever want to go back and look at the video of the PowerPoint presentation I did, but what happens is whenever you build a new house, the way they figure the tax on it falls into an equation where you figure the fair market value of the house, and then the tax base is, I think it's 12 or 12.5%. When a business comes to town, you figure what the value of their real estate is, and they're taxed at 25%. So automatically, you get twice as much benefit as on the same value. So if you go back and watch that PowerPoint, like 80 to 81%, I believe, was the number of all of the increase in taxes has been borne by the residential owners, because we haven't had any economic growth for a long time. So 5 or 6 years ago, the commissioners made a concerted effort to provide as much help with Beth and economic development as we possibly could, and we made the commitment that we're going to grow our industrial base, because you just have to, or people that own a house, that any inflation or any increase in whatever, it's all passed on to the homeowner, and that just shouldn't be that way. The industrial people should if you have any growth at all, then industry should bear at least half of that increase, and even more if you're doing a good job. So if you take a look at, we haven't sat down and projected, what's going to happen in the future with GAF coming and some of this other stuff, but new growth is vital. And if you're just growing houses, then you're like the city and adjusted inflation rate for last year was almost 14%. And if you apply that to everything that happened at the city, then you're talking to keep up with the same services. It's like 12 or 15 mills with how many commodities we buy, and so it just squeezes you down if you don't have that industrial growth.
Yeah, and for a long time, Newton really didn't have any. We just really didn't. And so, as you were saying, but another thing that's I look at it as common sense, but I said on the other program today, critical thinking skills. So we'll just call it critical thinking skills, and it's that if you don't have anybody coming for jobs, then how are you building houses for people? I mean, why would anybody come to your community just to move there? For no reason?
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm just asking. I'm not saying anything negative about Newton. I'm just saying people move because of jobs, because of these major infrastructure improvements like Beth was talking about. And I guess I have a question, Rod, specifically to you. And I'm picking up on a hint, and I don't want to point a finger, and I don't want that to be the case. But is part of the reason why we have not been able to see the kind of success that we're currently seeing with Beth and you and those that are working tirelessly to make something happen here in our community? Was there just not a focus placed on that in the past?
Oh, I would say, if you take a look at commissioner structure and leadership in the city of Newton, I think that we've been blessed with good commissioners at the right time that don't listen to the naysayers. I mean, we listen, but we still have a job to do, and having the right city management. I mean, really the stars have lined up. We've got great economic development people. The people on the Harvey County Economic Development all are really tuned into what needs to happen. City management is. We just created the right culture, and you've seen like the Lakers when they got all the good guys on their team at the same time, and they're all prima donnas, and everybody was beating them. Well, not everybody, but I mean, you can't just get good people and not have the right culture, and I'd say the stars have aligned, and everybody understands where we're headed, and we're all holding hands and moving forward together. I think that's huge. It doesn't. I mean, we're blessed with the culture that we have right now.
Well, you talk about culture, but I want to put Beth on the spot here, and I know that you're sitting here in front of potentially your employer watching this, so no pressure. But how have you believed since moving into the role that you are, the culture of Harvey County economic development has been?
Yeah, I want to back up just a little bit, and then I'll answer that question and touch on what Rod was saying. Is economic development really is a long game, and so the stars did align, and this past year was proof of that. But it wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have had the infrastructure ready sites, the land that we had that commissioners, before us had believed in and were able to say, hey, let's purchase this land, with pushback from the citizens saying, hey, we have this vacant industrial park there. I mean, when I first started here, that was every time I met someone and told them I did, they said, what are you going to do with industrial park? And that was 7 years ago. And so it really is a long game, and you have to have the asset there to be able to market. And so I'm so thankful that the people that were part of that did, and the BNSF certified sites. We were one of the first 3 in the nation to have a BNSF certified site, and we have 2 of them here in Harvey County. I mean, it's kind of amazing that Suzanne worked with BNSF to get that done. So, yes, the stars all aligned, but it really was something that's been in the process for the past 15 years. Yeah. But as far as the culture and the support of economic development, I haven't been in a community where I've felt as much support and really not just feel that, but in action. I've been able to say Suzanne Loomis is the city engineer for Newton. I've called her the day before and said, we have to go to Atlanta tomorrow for a project with the state. Can you clear your schedule and go? And she says, yes, I'll make that happen. I mean, everyone is willing to make that happen. Even GAF, when we were struggling trying to get that across the finish line, having a meeting out at the Meridian Center where 100 people showed up and said, okay, we support economic development. We want to make this community great. So it's amazing. Yeah. And I haven't felt that in other communities the way I have here.
And I want to even say something about that, that specific event in which so many people I was proud to be there. I always look for myself in the picture in there, and I, scroll and look at all the other people that were there and whatnot, because there was literally so many people there that you couldn't have shaken everybody's hand. You couldn't remember everybody was there. You probably missed some along the way. And I want to say, I truly believe that it was at that point in time that the culture that you all have tried to establish and that you all established and worked at and worked towards finally came home to where the community and community members wanted to buy into that same culture. Would you agree with that? You both were there for that. That was a big deal. Yeah, that was a big deal.
That was pretty fulfilling. That people, we didn't know how many people were going to show up, and it just kept coming.
Yeah.
And it was like the day before we decided we were going to do it.
Yeah.
No notice.
It was pretty cool.
And then GAF has told us several times that was a turning point for them to see that our community did that and showed up and wanted them here. So it was very impactful.
Well, and do you think that part of those stars alignment, Rod, that you're talking about in reference to does have some effect? I mean, does have something to do with how the culture now in our community has changed? Because I'm literally seeing people giving thumbs up about everything they're watching happening. I mean, people are talking about it, Full Vision and this and that and everywhere in between. It's happening. People are seeing it. And now, to what you say, Beth, they had to plant that tree before we can all pull the fruit off of it. Yeah. And we're in the process of pulling that fruit off, and we're liking it. But I think that goes back to a culture once again, too. There's not the community sitting here saying, hey, I know this investment was made. I know that it's not coming to fruition right now, but we got hope for the future. It was a sore point for a long time.
Yeah. Well, there's still people talking about, I had some guy posted, that's the road to nowhere.
I've called it that before. I'm sorry. I didn't do it that day.
But in all honesty, I look back. I was at a chamber breakfast here. It's probably been 7-8 months ago where I got to speak, and I think those people. Really, if you take a look at what we're doing right now, it's all fun. And we're working hard, but those guys were brave. To buy that ground and put in that infrastructure, and under the culture that they had back then, take all that heat for all those years. They were your real. It's almost like we're getting credit for it right now, and that's really not fair, because. Those were really hard decisions back there, and they were brave enough to make them, and they did it right too. It wasn't like they skimped or cut corners. That was a top-notch facility, and they did really, really good work. They were underdogs back then, and certainly none of this would have happened if we didn't have a place for these people to go. So I tip my hat to, Ray Penner and Ron Lang and that group of guys that said, I know this is gonna piss you off, but we're gonna do it anyway, because this is the future of where we want Newton to go. So they're the ones that paved the the way to what's happening right now.
Yeah. Well, and to what you were saying, Beth, too, just this knowledge that it's going to take 10, sometimes 20 years. You know, like Rod was saying, I'm not putting words in their mouth, but I'm going to say when it comes to maybe some of the decision behind that, when they went ahead and went through with it and built it, was that, well, even if something falters here, we're still going to have this to be able to utilize in the future, right?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that kind of the concept behind it? You want to have a fine balance here, but Beth, how would you, when we're talking about individuals that are naysayers in the community that might not have that 10, 20, 30, 50-year view, right? Knowing that that's your job, and then probably not wanting to get involved in all the negative naysayers on the social media, but yet realize at the same time that they have also a negative impact to the future growth that you want. So it's this bubble, right? It just brews. And how do you not only personally deal with that, but also how can we as a community be able to help and assist you when times like that come up? I mean, what are some things that we can say as community members, you know, hey, wait a second, we're looking for the 10, 20, 30-year view to people that are not looking that far in advance? Is that it, basically?
Yeah, we want to bring in jobs that are paying at or above the average wage for Harvey County for industrial NAICS codes. So we're trying to bring in good quality jobs that can help people support their family, let them stay here and grow here. And I feel as if we're trying to make this a place where people have a better quality of life. So you can stay here, live here, play here. And so that kind of is why I do this, because sometimes you get caught up on like the politics and things, but just if you boil it down to you're creating a job that someone can have and have a good life is really what we're trying to do. So a lot of the naysayers, you know, it's hard to dispute bringing in jobs that pay well, and that's what we're doing. So I understand people have their views on incentives, and we're not trying to give away cash. We're not trying to be the most competitive when it comes to, or aggressive with that. We're looking at the simple tools that we have that aren't going to hurt the municipality that's giving them up. So just having an understanding of that for the naysayers is important too. But a lot of people are just innately against incentives, no matter what it is that they hear, and that's how they feel. But we work with the community. We're not going to bring in a project that isn't a right fit. So we respond on a lot of RFPs. But once it gets to a point where we're actually getting a serious look, we say, is this a fit? Do we have something in our community that might be a competitor that this might impact? We don't want to do that. So there's a lot of conversations that goes into it with the city managers of that place, the county administrator. So it really is deliberate growth that we're trying to have. Some of the projects that come across like might be 1,200 employees, and we can't absorb that. That wouldn't be good for our community right now. So trying to figure out what can we slowly absorb so that we can grow in a way where we are adding those homes, having the people live here. So for the naysayers, I always encourage people to call our office and talk to us. And if at the end of the day you understand what we do and you still disagree, that's great. But it is with everything where you hear people who have opinions who I've never met, never talked to, don't really have an understanding of what we do. And that part, I welcome them. Please come visit with us, and so we can share what our office does and how we are trying to make Harvey County a better place. So.
Yeah. Well, and as Rod and I know, there's always people that are just going to be negative no matter what. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, it started to get kind of quiet in the jeering section. I mean, it really has. The jeering section has turned into the cheering section because, I mean, I hate to say it, but we talk about kind of what you're doing and then what people visually see. They see that quick trip going in, right? That's what a lot of people see. They see that new business coming in that they can go eat at or whatever, but without the realization that these organizations are coming here probably because of the other things that are looking at happening at a deeper level. I'm sure Quick Trip's not coming here because they don't think that this isn't going to be someplace where a lot of semis are going to be needing to haul things to and from because of industry that's coming here, right? So I haven't heard as many negative comments lately, Rod. And I'm hoping that, I got to say it. I 6 years ago, when I endeavored to do what I did and get involved and had a lot to say about taxes and economic development and the way things were and how I saw and all of that and above, just to be, critical. I'm also going to say, well, over the last 6 years, boy, there's been a lot that's changed. So what would you attribute that change to?
Well, it's I go back to the culture. It's things are happening and people are noticing, and there's like 6 or 7 people that are just negative. It's just like, okay, we're going to give away free diamonds. Everybody like, well, I'd rather have rubies. It's like, okay, whatever. And
it's a diamond. No, I want a ruby.
And I think that the people, well, like in your case, you did your research and you figured out that everybody's thinking things through. We're not just shooting from the hip here, and we're all working together. And being a city commissioner is such a high-paying job. Yeah. People have. I think those people that think we make $100,000 a year are gone now. The little $200 a month deal that we get for community service.
Well, if you guys keep raising the water rates, then that free water you guys get that you can just put all over your lawn for being a city commissioner might ring into thousands of dollars.
There you go. So and we pay for our water and sewer and trash too.
Yeah, you have to say this because there are people that. Did you hear what Lance Gormley said on Harvey County Talk? Did they get free water?
I wanted to quickly clarify that, Lance. So you were saying that in jest.
In jest. I was jesting.
But
I was cheering.
It's just kind of cool to watch everybody really care. And, even there's other people that attack those people when they say stupid stuff, and the ones that amaze me are the ones like, there's like a whole bunch of stuff, on Facebook about, or Instagram or whatever, about something, and then they'll come in and say something. It's like, hey, you just need to pay more attention. Mm-hmm. I think that even commissioners in the past and economic development people in the past, you do it because you love your community, so you need to thank those people for giving their time, whether they're like on a rec commission or Harvey County Economic Development or Planning Board or Commissioner or whatever, because it's that's all they get is your support and your thanks, and they do a better job if they. But don't be afraid to call them up and say, hey, I got an idea. I met with some people this morning at Norm's about an idea, and I really liked it, and I'm going to pursue it. And just to have commissioners and volunteers that are willing to meet with people and listen to them, and that doesn't happen in every community. Yeah. I feel like I'm dominating this conversation.
No, I wouldn't think that. I addressed you, Rod. I asked you directly, and I kind of framed the question in a different way when I was asking Beth or whatever. Well, we are limited by an hour. I'm not saying that we're coming up to the end quite yet, but I wanted to make sure that I really gave the opportunity for you all to share your heart and mind with the community. Both of you have been very important pieces. You've already tipped your hat to all the other people that have played very important roles as well, for us to be at this place and time and juncture in history, right? And it's all good. I feel like this spring is going to be great. I'm ready to watch the grass start green and growing the same way as I'm wanting to see how all of these things that are currently happening in my community are just going to revolutionize my community. I can't wait to go get a quick trip dog. Just things like that, and then everywhere you look, I'm getting to see companies that look the same my entire life double in size. Mm-hmm. So just, what do you all have to say? Really, just speak directly to the hearts and minds of anybody listening, and tell us what you got.
I'll let Beth go first. Yeah.
Okay. Really quickly, I'm going to talk a little bit more about our organization.
Hey, have at it.
Okay. So a lot of times people think we're being secretive. Projects have project names, and they're always like, why doesn't she tell us? It's because we don't know. They come to us with project names. Probably for the first year when I worked at GF, they were Project Accelerate, and we had no idea who it was. So I just want people to know, hey, when you hear us talk about projects, we're not trying to keep something from you. There is a level of confidentiality with companies once we do find out, but it's not as if we're issuing those names. That's how they're given to us. So wanted to share that, and then also let people know how mindful we are of the funding that we receive. We are funded by each one of the municipalities, and we go and ask for that annually. And we just keep trying to do more with less. So we are still operating on the same budget that we were from 2006. So, coming up to 20 years that we've been operating on that same ask from each community. So each year we're trying to figure out how can we do more with each year it becomes less because of inflation and rent and utilities and things like that. So we are mindful, and we do want to be frugal with our funds, but be as effective as we can. So I just wanted to share that. If people sometimes aren't really sure how we're funded or where the money goes or things like that. And again, people are always welcome to stop in, and we're subject to open records, so we're happy to share whatever people want to see. But as far as heart for the community, we moved here. I went to school here. We moved here from Wichita, and I was a city girl, and so moving to a small town was an adjustment, but I love it now. For the first couple of years that I lived here, I thought, I'll move back eventually. And now I'm like, I'm here. This is where I'm going to live. And I love the people around me. I love the people that I work with. And it's a connection that you don't have in larger communities. I mean, I have great friends there and I have great coworkers, but it's a little bit different because the struggle is a bit more, hits home a little bit more. And so the people, Pam at the chamber, Rod, everyone that I work with is great, and we're doing it to try to make this a better place for all of us. And so that's why we wake up every day and do economic development. And I truly believe, creating one job is so impactful. And so if we can create 10 quality jobs at the end of the year, that's a win too. Not every year is going to be what 2023 was, but whatever job that we can create or whatever program that we can implement, it's a success, and that's what we want to do, is make this a better place for everyone.
I might throw a plug in there for our new city manager, Daniela Rivas. We're really excited. She's, I think, going on her third week. Anyway, she's been here for 3 or 4 weeks. That might be a better way. And she's plugged into the city right now. She's going to be very pro economic development. She's a lot of fun, and she shared something with me the other day. Talked about sometimes you come in into a city and you get to meeting with people and she's just amazed. I mean, we really have good staff. I know you really enjoy working with Suzanne because Suzanne's very pro economic development, and just up and down the board. We have city staff that cares. They know how important it is to the commissioners that they show a caring attitude towards customers. A lot of people complain a lot about a lot of stuff, and I usually do follow up. If I say, hey, go talk to Donna at finance and she'll help you work, they always call back and say, man, I wish I'd have done that sooner. So I just tell people, just like Beth said, there's a lot of people in this community working together that really care about each and every citizen, in not just the county, but city of Newton, but the county too. And it's amazing what a group of people that enjoy being around each other, that love to work together, that really care about their community can accomplish if they just put aside any differences they have, and even some of these naysayers, there's room for them to help too. Put your keyboard down and come talk to me sometime, because everybody's got a place they can plug in to make Newton and Harvey County a better place to to live and work. So, when I moved here 14 years ago, two things got me here. Ultimately, the fact that we had the guts to do the logistics park that was kind of in the works back then, and then the Sand Creek golf course was Sand Creek Station Golf Course. You talk about sticking your neck out there. I mean, there's a lot of people that just hate golf, and you just can't believe how much that golf course generates. You drive out there and look at the cars in the parking lot. I was out there yesterday, and it's really a big draw for the community. And we're getting ready to have this Adaptive Open. I wore my Adaptive Open shirt here. That's a big deal. I mean, we're not just a golf course anymore. We're a force to be reckoned with in the golf world. So community takes all kinds of people to make it work, and all kinds of those people are here, and it's working, and you might as well jump on board and have fun.
I don't know how it works, but maybe we can wind up being the place that they do that every single year.
Yeah.
Can Newton be the home of the U.S. Adaptive Open?
Probably not.
Come on now. Think big, Rod.
Yeah. Pinehurst was, it's a pretty famous golf course. They did it 2 years of the first two, and we're getting the third one. So
very cool.
That's a pretty, just to be behind Pinehurst, that's might not mean much to many people, but to the golfers, that's like a golf mecca there. Yeah. So
very cool. Some great things are happening here in the Harvey counties. And I appreciate both of you for everything that you're doing. I'm watching it happen. I appreciate you coming out here on the program so you can talk to people and tell them what you do and how you do it. And then we can all share in the success together on the same team.
Yeah.
I think I say we should put the community back in community, but I think that confuses people at times. So it is what it is. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of Harvey County Talk. I was Lance Gormley as always, and our guests on the program were Rod Kreie, Newton City Mayor, also Chair of Harvey County Economic Development, and Beth Shelton, who is the Director for Harvey County Economic Development. It was great to talk to both of you today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.